like to learn how a woman was able to sell her internet company for over $1 million at the age of 26? Well, we're going to find out today thanks to my guest, Erica Douglas, coming to us all the way from San Diego in California. And Erica is an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, that is, and she is also an internet marketing expert. Erica, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Erica, I'm sure that a lot of people are quite interested by the introduction that I just gave, and I'd love to be able to start right there to understand, first off, how are you able to sell a company for over $1 million at the age of 26? What kind of company did you have? When did you start that company? All that good stuff you've got to share.
Okay, so well, the first secret is to start when you're really young. So I started the business when I was 20 years old, and I sold it when I was 26. And I'm not a college graduate, so that's probably the difference between me and a lot of other people who want to start businesses. And I see one of my cats.
Yeah, your cat.
there are a lot of cats in this house. So
no problem. Erica, the successful Erica, the successful entrepreneur with a lot of cats. No problem.
I do. I love cats, so I have several. So I started the business when I was 20. It was a web hosting company. So basically what we did was, if you have a website, you need somewhere to put it so that people on the internet can see it. That's what we did. Probably familiar with companies like HostGator, Bluehost, GoDaddy. Those are the big ones in the industry. We did a dedicated server and co-location company. So my business was focused on high-end web hosting, people paying $200, $500, $1,000, even up to $10,000 a month and more for web hosting. So we hosted some of the internet's largest websites. That was our big thing as a web hosting company.
Okay, so you say we, meaning that did you have partners, or was it you and the team, your team?
I own 91.5% of the company, and the other little bit of percent was owned by two very loyal, awesome employees of mine, and those people came in later. So I was the person who started the business and obviously the majority owner through the entire setup and running of the business.
Okay, so, here you are, you're 20. You're not going to university, you've just explained that, and you decide you're going to launch a company. Why a hosting company? Do you have a technical background? And also, you just talked about heavy hitters. You're talking about HostGator. You're talking about GoDaddy. Those are heavy hitters, and they've been heavy hitters from the get-go. So how did you, how did it come about that you felt confident enough to step into this arena? I really have to understand.
Well, I started the company about 10 years ago in 2001, so it was a really different market back then, and I sold it in 2007. So okay. That gives you some idea. The market was really different in 2001. Okay. We had all these huge hosting companies, and Silicon Valley had just gone from boom to bust, so a lot of them were declaring bankruptcy. So basically, instead of where it looks today, where you have like a lot of huge hosting companies, back then it looked incredibly foolish to start a hosting company because the internet was just this fad that had worn out. And all these big companies that had raised millions of dollars and couldn't make it work. So why did I think I could make it work? One of the advantages to starting in a real bust situation like that for Silicon Valley was that I got equipment very cheaply. And I was able to cut deals on equipment that were actually not even less than list price, but less than it would cost to make the equipment. So I was able to use my own money from when I had quit my job and use that money, scrape together some money to buy some equipment, and then lease out that equipment, and then use the lease money to get more equipment, and it just kind of built on itself over 6 years.
That's amazing. So you bootstrapped at the beginning. I was going to ask how you felt if you went to get a loan or financing. So you did the old-fashioned way. You bootstrapped.
I did.
And when you talk about equipment that was being leased, so basically you had equipment that you were using, but then there were other companies who were, quote-unquote, paying you on a monthly basis to use that equipment.
Right. So what I would do was I was really familiar with setting up hardware, installing it, getting it in the data center. I still build all my own computers to this day. I'm such a hardware junkie. It's really fun for me. So I bought a lot of parts and broken servers, and that was my real talent, was fixing up broken stuff, making sure that it worked, testing it, and then selling it to customers, and then they would pay a monthly fee to use that equipment. And they got a sweet deal on the equipment. So there was no underhanded thing going on here. They knew exactly what they were getting, but they were getting such a good deal on it that they were so excited to just be able to have their own server versus using a GoDaddy or... Actually, I don't even think GoDaddy was around when I started. They came around afterwards. So using a pair.com or one of the big web hosts at the time.
And of course, the speed of sort of, the download or traffic on or navigating on your site is quite different when you're sharing on a GoDaddy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But also the cost per month is quite different. You're not paying $10 a month. You're paying $100 or $200 a month.
Right, exactly.
And were you running this business from your home office, or did you actually have a physical location? I know you talk about 2 employees. Did you have more than 2 employees, or were people virtual? How were you set up?
We had up to 6 at the time, and the company is based in Silicon Valley. In fact, the company that bought us in 2007 is called Silicon Valley Web Hosting, and it's owned by a guy named Bruce Templeton. I still do business with him. He's a great person, and his company's awesome. He's kept most of our customers from the sale. So we were based in San Jose, California, and we had data center space in San Jose, and we also had an office down there. And we didn't have an office from the beginning. I got an office when I hired my 3rd person, because 2 people, it's really easy to just call somebody and talk on the phone with them. When you get to be 3 people, you really need an office, or at least you need to be going out to lunch on a regular basis. That's actually where I am with my current company right now, too. In February, I believe, we hired our 3rd person here in San Diego, so we have that same situation, very similar.
Interesting, and it's also amazing to hear because, and I don't want to generalize. I know that some women out there are very comfortable with technology. Obviously, you're one of them. But most women are not comfortable with technology. And, I mean, you're going really deep in technology when you're talking about, still to this day, I build my own computers. I mean, most of us are just happy to try to figure out what we're supposed to buy. How many gigabytes are we supposed to have in our computers? And you're just, like, down in your basement, putting yours together. So that's amazing. So in 2007, what prompted you to sell the company if it was doing, obviously it was doing well?
It was doing really well, and I think it could have held out and waited another year and probably sold it for over $2 million. I think now the combined company that Bruce is running is probably worth multiples of what I sold the business for, because the customers have so far pretty much stuck with him. I know the biggest customer we had is still with Bruce, so that's good for him, and he signed a lot of contracts based on my company and just contracts that closed right after the sale and into the next year. So I would say the main reasons I sold, a lot of it was personal reasons. I was feeling really sick and tired all the time, and I was just exhausted, and I didn't want to do it anymore. That was the biggest reason. Like, I was just... Web hosting, you got to know, even if you're the CEO, even if you have employees under you, you're still going to get paged at 3 a.m. sometimes with some problem that somebody can't figure out. And, it was getting to the point where I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking that a pager was going off, and it wasn't going off. And then I would just have a panic attack. So it was not good. And I was feeling exhausted. That turned out to be celiac disease that was diagnosed in 2009. So it took a couple of years to even get that diagnosed and figure out what's going on. I really thought, when I sold the company, I really thought that the tiredness and the exhaustion were either the result of the company or it was psychological. It was all in my head. And I was a firm believer in you can overcome anything. So I really thought that it had nothing to do with my body and a lot to do with my brain. And it turns out that that was not true at all. I had to go to several doctors to figure out that it was actually my body has a problem with eating wheat. And so I can't eat wheat, and wheat is what makes me sick, and wheat is everything. So it's pretty much in your standard American diet, wheat's in pretty much every meal. So
well, not only standard American diet, and pretty much standard Western country diets, really.
So that was that issue, but I didn't know that at the time. So I thought that it was me. I thought that it was psychological. I thought that it was running this business that was doing that to me. And it took me a few years to get through that. And the other reason was I was just ready to move on and do something else. I was tired of it, and I guess there was some stuff too. I had read this book by Harry Dent called there was a boom book and then there was a buzz book.
I read those. I read those books as well. I gave mine up not long ago to the library, but I remember Harry Dent. I can't remember the name of the book. Was it Boom and Bust?
There's a boom one and a bust one. I remember that much. There's the coming economic boom and then something about a bust. I don't remember what they were called, but the boom one I had read pretty religiously, and it said in 2007 that everything was going to go to heck. So I thought, okay, I really need to get out of this business. Plus, I had noticed in Silicon Valley things were becoming a little bit frothy again. I had tried to raise capital for my business, and nobody was interested. They kind of laughed at me. They're like, here's this young girl, and she like is running this business, and who cares? It's just a silly little web hosting company. And then by early 2007, I had venture capitalists coming to me saying, hey, we want to invest in your company. And I said, no, I think it's not the right time, and I'm not interested in taking on venture capital and staying in the web hosting industry. So I was happy to get out of the industry. There were like a lot of different reasons, and the other thing was that Bruce was really the right buyer. So Bruce had a company that was almost identical to mine. In fact, he had like the same plans and pricing and everything, so it made sense to sell to him as well. He was somebody who I knew because his company had space in the same data center as ours. So that was how I got to know him. A lot of people ask, how do you find a buyer for your business? Well, in this case, we needed more space for all of our servers, and Bruce had that space, so we offered to sublease some of the space in the data center that he had that was extra, and we were filling up space so fast that he was just blown away. He said, how are you finding all these customers? So we sat down and had lunch, and we ended up talking for like 3 hours about our businesses, and we realized that our businesses were really similar. And at that point, I didn't want to sell my business, but a few months later, I came back to him and said, I'm ready to sell it. Let's do this. And then he bought the business. So I think it was really good. It was the right fit in terms of him, his company, and my company as well.
Okay, interesting. I've noticed that Skype seems to be turning on and off. So we're going to keep going. The voice is perfect. Sometimes Skype acts up, and there's not much we can do about it. So it's quite interesting because you were really courageous in a sense, because you were in a business where things were going well for you financially and otherwise, and you could have decided, well, okay, I may not be happy, it may not be what I want to do, but you know what, it is bringing me money, so why don't I stick it out? And you sort of made that decision that, you know what, I don't want to stick it out. It's really not conducive to my health. It's not congruent with who I am, and I want to sell out. So that really takes a lot of courage to do.
I suppose it was the logical choice for me. Right. It was based on all the different things that were happening at the time. The economy going south. I mean, I sold within 3 weeks of the stock market's biggest peak in 2007 in September. So there was a lot of timing involved there too. I think it would have been tougher to sell the business in 2008 than it was in 2007. Yeah. And now things have picked back up, so it would probably be easier to sell it again. But I would have had to wait 4 years and still be running that business. So that wasn't what I wanted to do. So,
and still waking up in the middle of the night with panic attacks.
Yeah. I know it was not the right fit for me for long term. 6 years was plenty.
Okay. So I wanted to know, and I don't know in terms of privacy if this is something you can share, but when you got bought out, was this a lump sum, or some companies when they get bought out, they get a little bit upfront and then X number of dollars over a few years? Was it a lump sum, or was it the scenario where you got a partial payment and then it was paid out through a number of years?
It was an asset sale, and it was paid out over time. So I got a $100,000 check up front and then monthly payments for about 3 years.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice passive income. So you talked earlier about the fact that you've just added a third employee to your new company. So that sort of says to me that you've moved on and ventured into something new. So could you talk about your new venture? What exactly do you do, and sort of what prompted the hiring of a third employee?
Sure. So my new company is called Whoosh Traffic, WHOOSH Traffic, and we're at whooshtraffic.com. And I love the name. It's got a lot of energy. Once you learn how to spell it, then you've got it, and you never forget it. So that's the great part. And I started it last year. We've been in business almost a year now. We started in October 2010. So I'm really excited to have our first year anniversary. We're doing a lot better than my hosting company was doing at its first year anniversary. I started it with my co-founder, Parnell, and of course he's still building all the tools that we're using. And we recently, a few months ago, hired a graphic designer full-time. what we're doing is we're building search engine optimization tools that help people get more traffic to their website. And we're also doing link building, so linking from other sites to your site to help boost your ranking in the search engines. So those two are our primary services right now. And we have lots of big plans to go into more search engine optimization tools so that people, I think there's a real market for people to understand how they're getting traffic to their website and understand who's sending them the most traffic, how can they boost traffic to their site. That's like one of the number one questions I hear from entrepreneurs is, well, I've got this website and it's really cool and I love the product that I'm selling, but how do I find people who want to buy the product?
Yes.
And that's what we're focused on. That's right where we are in the market. And I like this. I really like this business. I don't ever have to get paged at 3 in the morning.
No more panic attacks.
Right.
And the other thing about your business, I mean, let's face it, we're talking about SEO being a search engine optimization. I mean, for most people, it's honestly a foreign word. And even if they figure out what I call SEO light, so the basics of SEO, there's just so much more to SEO. And unless you're really passionate about it, the easiest thing is to really leave it in the hands of experts, of people who really eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks. So it is actually quite, and absolutely for most people who have a website or a product that they're selling online, one of the number one concerns is, how do I get more traffic? How do I get more eyeballs to come to see what I'm doing? So that's really great.
Yeah, that's exactly where we wanted to be. I wanted to build another business. The main reason I started the hosting company, to go back to that question, is because there is a monthly fee involved. People pay you every month. And once you get a customer in the hosting industry, it's pretty hard to get them to leave.
Yep.
You really have to do something wrong, or they have to lose their business, or sometimes it's a cost thing. They'll switch down to a lower cost with you or with somebody else because they don't have quite the traffic that they expected. So that happens sometimes. But once you have a customer, they're pretty sticky. And I wanted another business that did a monthly fee like that was pretty sticky. And I wanted something where I wasn't going to have to constantly sell new customers on the product in order to keep growing the business. That's what I don't like about a lot of businesses, is that you're constantly having to find new customers. And I really wanted to develop a base of customers who are going to be with us long term. And that's really what I wanted from Whoosh Traffic. And that's definitely been the case. We've had customers who signed up with us in October of last year and are still with us. So I'm really happy with that.
And were you able to take some of the learnings from the hosting company into Whoosh? And and which were they?
So I started in search engine optimization. My first paid SEO job was in 1997. So I've been around the block a few times in SEO. And I have been, in 1997, the big game was how many search engines can you submit your site to? And I worked for a company that did exactly that. I was the person who actually copied and pasted all of their clients' info into all of those search engines. So I was the lowest rung on the totem pole, but that was a great job for a 15, 16-year-old. I got paid about $12.50 an hour for a teenager. That's
amazing. A lot of money. Yeah.
So that was my first SEO job, and I really got into SEO from that. I started building my own websites, and I started learning about search engine optimization. I read basically every marketing blog. There weren't blogs back then, but websites that published content on a regular basis. They didn't have a name for it back then. I read basically all of those back on the internet in the late 90s. And then I used SEO to help grow my hosting company. So SEO was one of the main ways we got clients as a hosting company. And so that way I knew what I was doing when it came to SEO. But then when I sold my business, I had become a little bit lazy with my hosting company, honestly, because SEO was just working for us and we were just getting new customers basically on autopilot. I hadn't really brushed up on my skills. So what I did in early 2010 was I started aggressively learning about SEO and the new ways to do SEO and backlink building methods. And I discovered a method that worked really well. And I decided to start selling that method to clients after taking a poll of some of my customers for another product and asking them, would you pay for a service that got backlinks to your site on a regular basis? And they mostly, like 60 to 70% of them said yes. So I thought, okay, here's a business. And since then, we're about ready to release a new link building method. And I suspect we'll release new link building methods every 6 months to a year from here on out. and we're getting ready to move into something that's working even better for us. In fact, Bruce, the guy who bought my company, is now with us for link building, and we've gotten him some really impressive results for very difficult web hosting terms. We actually have several web hosting companies as customers, and of course we always check our customers to make sure we're not doing the same thing for two different customers in terms of the same keyword, but we've gotten some really amazing results. So I'm excited to share that on our new website, which is coming out very soon.
And it's amazing that you have such a great relationship with the company who bought you out. That says a lot. Wanted to ask, I mean, link building, there are some services in newly emerging countries. And what's the India? What's the difference between the services that you would offer and the services that a company located in a newly emerging economy would offer? Obviously, there must be a big difference in price because you're not paying the same amount in terms of employee or staffing or anything. I mean, your overhead is completely different, you know, from San Diego to Mumbai. So,
right.
So what's the difference?
Okay, so if you hire an Indian company for link building, you've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to be able to say, this is my keyword, this is the page, it's fully optimized, and we just want you to build links. And then they'll do it, and that's fine. And there are people who understand SEO, and they know exactly what they're doing when it comes to link building. In fact, we test all these other services on a regular basis for our own site. We use other services for our own site just because we want to see what they're doing. Because I've been in SEO for so long, I understand keyword research, like expert status on keyword research. But I found that the number one problem that people had was that they have no idea what keywords they should be optimizing for. And that's the problem. If you go to an Indian company, you say, well, Whoosh Traffic charges $200 a month at our minimum level, and these guys charge $50, but then you're not going to get any results because you don't even know what keyword that you want to build links for, and your site isn't optimized. So what we do is every time a customer signs up with us, I do a one-on-one 30-minute consult with that customer. And I go through their site, and we talk about, okay, what do you need to do in terms of the site? Most times the customer has no idea what keyword they want to go for. Sometimes they have an idea, but I can guide them to a better keyword that has less competition and about the same amount of search traffic. Sometimes I give them ideas on what to write in terms of a blog post. Sometimes I'll even give them ideas on how to flip their business so that it's a little bit more competitive. So it's a really valuable feature. And I've never seen an outsourced company, a company from another country that does anything like that. And that's really the main benefit of signing up for our service. Okay. That's what we have to offer. And our customers, I will say, of the customers who take the consult, because not every customer takes it. Some people, I know what I'm doing, I don't want your advice, I'm just going to go do it. That's fine, but they don't tend to stick around as long as the people who've had the consult. The consult helps customers be much more sticky than they were previously. And I like doing the consults. It's fun for me to get introduced to what people are doing online. You would be amazed at some of the things people sell online. Not anything gross or perverted. It's just like things that you wouldn't think about, like water softener filters, and you're like, what? And they make lots of money doing that. So there are lots of things that you and I buy on a regular basis that we don't even think about, like filters and things like that people are selling online and making a lot of money in those kind of weird niches. So that's what I found that was really interesting.
And that's right.
Why I enjoy doing it.
And you're right there. I had a couple of my online sites that I sold not long ago, and I sold through a broker. And the owner of that company was telling me that he had a site which he actually sold to a bigger fish. But his company was generating $175,000 a month selling hammocks. And when he told me that, I said, how do you spell hammocks? What does it mean? Because I was thinking, it's got to be something tech-based. I mean, It couldn't be what I was thinking. And he's like, hammocks. I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean. You know hammocks between two trees and you sleep. I was like, okay, I thought that was that, but I thought to myself, there's no way you could be selling $175,000 worth of hammocks every month. And he said, oh yeah. And he said the company who bought me out, now they're generating $450,000 a month selling hammocks. So I
know, it's unbelievable. I don't even want to reveal some of our customers' niches, but I will tell you that products that appeal to women and moms are huge. The revenue numbers are staggering on those. And a lot of it's physical products. I've been talking with some students that I've been coaching on how to make money online, and I'm going to be opening a new coaching program on that soon, actually, called Step by Step Business. And I've been working with a few people just to see what they need, and I've been encouraging them to sell physical products because I found, selling ebooks, like that's a really popular thing to talk about in internet marketing. Oh, let's sell an ebook on how to sell ebooks, or, it's ridiculous. But I have found that some of the best companies I've seen online, the companies that are making the most money, are actually selling physical products. The hammocks one is a good one. I have like a list of them in my head, and I can't say it, but I can say some of them. The niches that appeal to women, I will just say that you can make so much money on niches that appeal to women and people who have just had babies. Wow.
And I'm sure, because again, when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you need that answer, you're going to go online and find it, and you're going to press that buy button real fast because you want a quick solution to your problem. So very interesting what you just revealed. So on your website, one thing that I read was the fact that you wanted to, after you had sold your hosting company, you wanted to be able to generate $10,000 a month of revenues and $1 million a year in passive income before the age of 30. So I'm doing calculation in my head here, based on the fact that you sold your company at 26 in 2007. Okay. Now, have you reached that goal, or have you surpassed it?
I am 30 now. I just turned 30, so yay, I'm 30. But I didn't quite get to the $1 million yet. But I think Whoosh Traffic has some huge potential to get there. It's not 100% passive because I have to do the 30-minute consult when a new customer signs up, but that's something I love doing. So it's not something that I want to give up. So I think Whoosh Traffic is well on its way to being there, and I've got some stuff up my sleeve too. So always have more going on.
Yeah, that's really that's good. And also, it's almost if it's only 30 minutes. With a few clients here and there, and you're able to generate that kind of revenue, I think most of us would find that a really nice, sweet little business model.
Yeah. It's good ROI.
Indeed, very much so. And, when I was on your website, I found tons of great information. And so I want to go over some of the other things that you talk about. You talked about, especially coming from somebody like yourself, you were able to... you knew success at a very young age. And so it's really interesting in, having your perspective on things. But you talk about 3 basic factors that make people successful. So coming from somebody like yourself, it's very interesting. And I was hoping that you might be able to share that because, people are building businesses all the time. Some people are very successful. Some people aren't so successful. So what, differentiates the successful people versus the non-successful people?
Well, that's actually the question that I asked myself when I started my blog. Why was I so different? Originally, when I started my hosting company, I thought that anybody could do this, but I realized that not a lot of people have the skills that I had. And I didn't go to college to learn those skills. I had to learn everything on my own. So I learned how to program. I programmed my own shopping cart. I learned how to build hardware cheaply. And I guess I'm still really passionate about the hardware side of things. And I would say that a lot of people aren't successful because they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. A lot of business, and whether you're running a web business or not, it still requires knocking on doors. It requires selling, and a lot of people just have a fear of selling. Basically, I don't have really a fear of selling. I don't want to sell crap. Basically, I don't promote a lot of stuff on my blog. A lot of people say, "Wow, you have a huge blog audience. You should be promoting stuff all the time." And of course, they always have some product in their pocket that they want me to promote.
What about mine?
But I find that I don't want to promote anything that sucks, basically. And a lot of stuff out there is just really terrible, like, honestly.
Dubious.
So what I want to do is focus on promoting the really good stuff. But when you've got really good stuff, like I'm really passionate about Whoosh Traffic. I think my goal, and I always tell this to my team, is we have to be the best at what we do. We cannot be second place. There cannot be anybody out there who's doing it better than we are. And I drive that so hard with my employees and my customers as well. And if my customers cancel and they go to somebody else for link building, I want to know about it. In fact, I'll often, like I said, probably 2 or 3 times a month, I'll sign up with some other company for link building, and I'll try them out on a new domain that we have or on our Whoosh Traffic domain. And if they've got something that they're doing that's better than ours, I put it in our tracking system and we implement that. So our goal is just straight up be the best. And I don't think a lot of people have that strong of an initiative. I am really, like, I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about how we can be the best company in what we're doing. And I go to sleep at night thinking about it. And when I'm watching TV or driving the car or taking a shower or whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm thinking about that in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, okay, how can we make this even better? And then I'll have these ideas. Oh, I get it. And also, it has to do, too, I think the success part of it, at least for me, has to do with really being analytical about a lot of things. I don't take things at face value. When I buy something, I'm thinking about, why did I buy that item? When I want to buy something, when I have a desire to buy something, I'm thinking about, why do I have the desire? What instilled that desire in me to buy that item? And how can I do that for my business? And so every time I make a purchase decision on anything, like a new computer or a new phone or a camera or whatever it is that I'm thinking about purchasing, I think about, did they advertise? Is that why? Or is it a review on a site? Is that why I'm buying this? Or is it based on a feature? Why do I feel like I need that feature when I lived without it a year ago? I'm really analytical in that way. And I think a lot of people don't really have the analytical bent. And it's not required to run a business to have that. It's certainly, you can be successful without it. But it really helps to know what your personal triggers are, and then inserting those triggers into your buying process. If people are like, that's why I buy a lot of other link building services, and we have an account on every other rank tracker on the internet. Like, we do that because we're going through their checkout process. We're giving them money because constantly we're tracking 13 other competitors in the rank tracker industry right now. So that's basically what it does. It's a little piece of software, a service, I guess is what you would call it. And what it does is we email you your Google rankings every day, and we have a free account, and so we literally have accounts on all the other ones, and I'm constantly in there with my designer going, okay, I like this about their service, let's add that to our issue tracking system. Don't like this about their service, let's add this as a feature to our site. I'm constantly reading copy on other people's sites, and I don't see a lot of people doing that. A lot of people are so afraid to buy stuff from their competitors. They're like, well, I'm feeding the competition. No, you're not. That's the best market research you will ever have. That and talking to customers is the best thing that you will ever get in terms of market research. I pay our competitors constantly. I would say thousands of dollars a month go to our competitors because I want to know what it is that they're doing and how we can do it even better. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that with a lot of business owners. I think that's really a strong point that I have that I'm passionate about that a lot of business owners don't have.
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, you gave actually 4 factors to success. And thank you so much. So number 1 was stepping out of your comfort zone. Number 2 was striving to be the best of the best. Number 3 was being analytical. And number 4 was competitive intelligence.
Yeah. I like that. I could make that into a blog post.
I'm telling you, just make sure that you say you heard it from Kritia.
Will do.
So that's really great. And I like the whole part of being the best of the best because I believe that, with this economy and things changing, what's going to happen, I mean, what really, even on the internet, we see it. It was easy before. You talk about, I don't want to associate my name, because that's basically what you say. When I don't like crap, I don't want to promote crap. It's basically you don't want to associate your name with things that are mediocre. Well, a few years back, it was easy. You could sell anything. I mean, I bought ebooks that honestly were like, seriously? I mean, you're selling this stuff? And I think that with this new economy, it's going to be much harder to sell quote-unquote crap. I think people are more intelligent. People are a little bit savvier. And also let's face it, with social media, it's quite easier now to be able to type something, review and whatnot, and really find out if something is of value or not. So it is great for you to always strive for quality and being the best of the best.
Agreed.
Yeah, and the competitive analysis, you're right. I think a lot of people either are afraid of, seeming that they're nosy in other people's businesses, or also you're right, they don't want to give quote unquote money to the competitor when it's a good way for you to see, how your business pairs, compared to other companies.
Oh yeah, as soon as I find out about a competitor, the first thing we do is sign up for their service. That is just always. And for link building, it's a little more difficult because there are so many Indian and Filipino companies doing that. So what I do is I do it based on what other people are saying about the business. If a lot of people I know are trying it and liking it, then we will do it. In fact, the main reason we switched our link building service around, we noticed that ours was still working really well, but it was after the Panda update, it was starting to work a little less well. So what we wanted to do was, we knew we wanted to flip it, and so what I did was I talked to one of our customers that I knew bought a lot of different services, and I said, what do you like out there? What's working really well? And he gave me a couple of recommendations of competitors of ours. So I bought, like, I don't know, at least probably $2,000 worth of packages from a bunch of competitors, and I tried out all kinds of different stuff. And we tried it on our Whoosh traffic site for the rank tracker keyword. We tried it on niche sites. I tried it on my erica.biz site, all kinds of stuff. And what we found a better way to do it. And so now we're ready to launch that this week. So I'm really stoked about that. We already have several customers who are on our new link building method. So that's the kind of thing you've got to constantly, especially in a web business, you've got to constantly be checking out your competitors, constantly understanding what it is that makes people buy from those other sites. Now, if nobody's buying from the other site, that's one thing. But still, go through their checkout process. Sign up for their email list. Sign up. Send them $10. Who cares? $10 is nothing compared to the intelligence that it's going to get you, and that's what we do. And we found some competitors in the rank tracker businesses that have some features that we don't have, so we added them to our development list, and based on customer requests, we're implementing them all. So, and that's basically, I think that's what's going to keep us on top for the long term, is the fact that we're really flexible and we're really adaptable. I'm not stuck in the way. I'm not interested in saying that our way is better than everybody else's out there. I'm interested in saying, if you think that there's something better than what we have, let me know and I'll buy it. And then I'm going to implement it, or I'm going to say that this is not better than what we have. And that way I know too, if a customer comes to us and says, well, I'm debating between you and this, I can actually say, well, I buy lots of link building services too. I've purchased every rank tracker out there, and they have this, and this, which is awesome, and they have this, and this, which is not so awesome. And based on that, this is what we're doing, and customers are really impressed with that sort of thing. So that's why I like doing that sort of thing. And I'm a little crazy when it comes to that stuff.
No,
I'm always
you're
out there
not.
testing everybody else's stuff, but it's cool. I love it.
What you mean? It's not that you're crazy. You're passionate.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I just wanted you to translate what the Panda update meant, because you said it and people may be like, okay, is it an animal? What does it mean? What is the Panda update?
So Google released a major update to its algorithm earlier in 2011, and it basically was this. If you're doing link building to your site, meaning you're getting links from other websites on the internet, and your site's content doesn't match the keywords that you're link building for. So like for instance, for our rank tracker, we're going after the keyword rank tracker, and we've gone up and down on that. We've been on the first page, now we're not on the first page, we will be again. And so we are going after that keyword, and our site has to have at least 500 words of text is what we found, and now we're recommending, and it needs to be about the keyword rank tracker. We found, for instance, one of our customers had a problem with this because he was link building for a keyword that people were searching for in Google, but he's in an industry with a lot of acronyms, so he was typing in a lot of acronyms on his page, and that his page didn't have that keyword that people were typing in. It had the acronym instead, and Google didn't recognize that that acronym had to do with the same industry. So his site went up in the rankings and then plummeted down in the rankings, and that's basically, we call that a content penalty. What it means is you're actively link building to your site, but your site's content doesn't match the keywords that you're link building for. Okay. And we've found several customers have been affected by that, but with our new link building method, it's a little bit more stable in terms of content penalties, but you've still got to have the right content on your site. It used to not be the case. Actually, you used to be able to have a blank page on your site, blank page, nothing on the site, and link build for a specific keyword, and that blank page would rank in Google. Obviously, that's not the ideal result in terms of Google, so that's what the Panda update corrected. And it did take a lot of legitimate sites offline because they were really thin on content. They had maybe 2, 5 sentences, 10 sentences, and what you really need now is we're seeing at least 500 words of content on every page that you want to rank for every keyword that you want to rank. So it's a lot more work for a webmaster, but it does result in higher search results, higher quality search results in Google sites. So I see why Google did it. It's still a pain, though.
Absolutely. It definitely is a pain, and it has affected the business of a lot of internet entrepreneurs. And what you just described there, I mean, personally, I think it really sets you apart, and it really helps to understand why your company, which is set in North America, would be a preferable choice to a company that's set in a sort of emerging economy. Simply because, and again, I'm not knocking anybody down. I'm not necessarily, and I've been dealing with a number of companies in emerging economies, and you don't get that level of education. I mean, again, as you said, if you want something done, they'll do it. But in terms of educating you to get you to that next level, it's not something often that's part of their package. And that's a really good way to differentiate yourself, because right now, let's face it, it's an international, a global playing field for any company. And how do you differentiate yourself? And you are in a business that's highly competitive, because people could simply look at price. 250, forget it, I'm going with the 50. But when they start understanding what they get and what more they get from the $200 package, then that really starts, shifting things quite in your favor.
Agreed. And what our business is a lot of SEO companies love to compete in terms of SEO, because that's what we know and love, right? And that's what I did with my web hosting company. That's how we got so many customers. But since I'm running an SEO company now, it's all about who has the bigger guns in SEO, right? So somebody has a gun and they're like shooting it to get their company up to the top of the rankings, and then somebody else comes in with a bigger gun and they're shooting it. And a lot of people use really deceptive tactics to rank number one. I break down competitors in terms of how they ranked all the time for our customers. That's really informative for our customers. And you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that people do. It's crazy. So I don't want to compete in SEO for SEO. What we're doing right now is we're looking into direct mail and some tactics that are basically really not used at all for SEO companies. So it's a completely new learning experience for me to get customers in this way, because I've never done it before. But that's an interesting challenge that I'm excited to take on.
And if I could ask Erica, and I'm not sure if you could answer this question, but if somebody is listening to you and they're thinking, wow, I had no idea this was even possible. Wow, I didn't even know that I can get my website to that next level. Because let's face it, either you are an online or offline company, having a web presence is extraordinarily important. And even if you're an author, an expert, a coach, you name it, you have to have an online presence. So if somebody was considering what you've just described, sort of SEO optimization for their website versus, let's say, spending money on publicity, PR, could you sort of explain how the two could compare, or if they even are on the same ballpark, or if somebody were considering both, would they still need to have both in their company in order to grow their readership? If you could talk to that effect, that would be really great.
Well, the marketing, it's always difficult to choose where you want to put your marketing budget, because there are so many different places to put it, right? You can go from anything from paid search like AdWords to things like direct mail to PR to SEO. I mean, there's just a billion. You could go in the yellow pages for, and I don't know. But what I want in terms of marketing for my business, and hopefully other people will see this too, is somewhere that I can get a measurable result. For instance, direct mail, you can measure. I sent out 1,000 letters, and 15 people responded, so that's a conversion rate of 1.5%, something like that. Hopefully I did that math correctly. But you can do the math and do the conversion rate. And that's what I like about SEO, is that once you get on the first page of Google results, and preferably in the top 3 or even the number 1 Google result, you'll start seeing some massive return on investment. What I like Google rankings for is small businesses. Like, we have a plumber that does really well with us, an interior designer. Those are the kind of businesses that I want to reach with our new marketing campaign. So in terms of PR, it's hard to measure PR. And no offense to anyone who does PR out there, because I think a good PR company can do amazing things and get you into places that you really couldn't get into otherwise. But it's hard to measure it. You can pay a PR company, you can write them a check for $5,000, which is going to be typically what they're going to want for the first month.
Okay.
Or more.
Okay, I was going to say, yes, indeed, $5,000. Some companies, $10,000 out in LA. Yeah.
And then they'll get you in the door, but it's up to writers to decide whether they want to write an article about you or not. And it's up to you and the PR company to help frame your story in the way that an article writer would actually want to pick that up and go for it and say, I want to write this story about this person or this business. And so it's not just hiring a PR firm and then things get done. What I do like about our company is that you hire us, you do the 30-minute consult, and then we just do the rest. Like, it's on autopilot after that. And you get an email with your ranking results every day so that you know If you're going up in the rankings, then something's working. If you're not going up in the rankings, then we need to look at what's not working. Typically, our clients go up in the rankings, or else we wouldn't be in business. So, you know, if they're not going up in the rankings, a lot of times it's the content on their site is just not good enough. So we work with them on that.
Okay, I was going to ask that. So you do, like, if that's the case, you actually do consult with them in terms of them turning things around for the content on the website. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Absolutely, we've got to, because that's 50% of the battle at this point. But it's all, for me, it's all about measurable results. And certainly you can get measurable results in other ways other than SEO. You can do AdWords, you can do Facebook ads. It's all about being able to track your conversions and making sure that your spend is paying off. If basically, and what every company wants is they're able to put $1 in and get $1.01 or $1.10 back out. If you can do that with any marketing method, then it's worth plowing as much money as you have available into that method. And whatever that method is fine. PR, I probably wouldn't go with that as a small business because it's so expensive and it doesn't guarantee that you get results. So that's something that I would say about PR. But there are certainly so many other things that would help you grow your business online and offline. I don't think we should forget to look at offline methods as well. I'm really interested to try our direct mail test because I really want to see whether direct mail still works. A lot of people go, woof, direct mail, that's so 20 years ago. But I think actually you get so much less direct mail than you did 10 or 15 years ago that your chances of looking at it are actually much higher. That's my suspicion. I haven't tested that yet.
Oh, it's more than a suspicion, my friend, because I had Diane Conglin, who is an expert in direct mail, and we talked about that. Actually, I think that the intro question was, is direct mail making a comeback? And her first comment was that every time I hear that, I chuckle and I laugh because direct mail's never gone anywhere. It's just that our attention has diverted to email marketing and online marketing. But she says that because our inboxes are crowded, you know, now if you mail something, then it actually gets people's attention because, you know, in the mailbox, what do we get? Most likely bills. Once in a while, you may get a birthday card. Magazines and whatnot, but it's not like before, even your friends. I mean, when was the last time you wrote a letter to a friend? Never. I mean, you text or you email your friend. Exactly. Yeah. So when you open your mailbox, you know psychologically that you're going to get bills, magazines. So when something else comes through the mail, it catches your attention far easier than email. Because, I mean, it's, you know, a lot of it is spam and you're like, oh, you know, and it goes sometimes directly to your spam box. So you're right there in terms of offline methods work very well for online businesses and offline businesses.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of people saying things like, well, if you run an SEO company, why aren't you guys ranked #1 for search engine optimization? I'm like, are you kidding me? So we can do that, but it would just cost us so much money that I would rather spend that money somewhere else. And any good SEO company can get ranked for that kind of stuff, and we're certainly not the only good one out there. But I think that, it comes back to who's got the bigger guns. I'd rather go where there aren't any guns and have the only gun. Like, that's what I want. I want to be the only fish in the pond, or the only fisherman in the pond full of fish, right? And the direct mail pond is full of fish right now, and very few fishermen.
Absolutely.
The SEO pond is also full of fish, but it's also full of fishermen. And guess who the #1 people who click on search engine optimization ads are? They're other SEO companies. Doing
competitive research.
Right. So, and of course, when it's going to be $12 or $15 a click, then that's a lot of money that you're spending optimizing for other companies to come and click on you.
Yeah,
so you got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. I think that it's so important to go fish in a pond and ignore the ridiculous people who are like, well, if you're SEO, you should do this. If you're a Facebook company, then you should advertise on Facebook. Well, maybe yes and maybe no. You go where the customers are. You go where it costs the least amount to acquire a customer. If that's email, if that's direct mail, if that's SEO, that's PPC, it doesn't matter. But if you don't have to go where you have the biggest strengths. I also think that's kind of a cop-out because I think that it's good to learn new marketing methods. I know SEO inside and out. No problem. I can do SEO all day long with one hand tied behind my back and my eyes closed. but you know, direct mail, I've never done it. And so I think that's going to be a challenge. That's more interesting to me because it's a bigger challenge. So, and these aren't excuses. I'm really passionate about this. So this is something that I want to do.
Oh, and we can hear the passion. So, Erica, you said, and this is part of one of the membership sites that you're going to be launching, and you said something, and of course, we won't go into details because it'll take more than, the few minutes that we have in the interview, but you talked about some of your clients who are doing extraordinarily well online selling products as opposed to digital products. And do you feel that pretty much, anybody with any niche, so, coaches to whatever else, can actually also, transfer their skills into not only building digital or selling digital products, but also selling physical products as well?
Yeah. I'm really into the selling of physical products online. In fact, you'll see a launch that I have soon in a niche that sells physical products. I've got a couple of them going right now. And one in particular that I have right now has not made any money yet, but I haven't really been focused on building the site. So I think that you'll see me go into that niche a little bit as well, selling physical products online. I'm pretty big on that niche. I really think it's an underserved niche. People think it's a lot harder to sell a physical product than a digital product, when I don't buy that at all. You just have to figure out how to set up distribution and how to I guess the main goal is to not have 10,000 of whatever product it is in your garage and have to go to the UPS or whatever and ship it out every day.
Whoa.
There are plenty of companies that'll handle that for you.
The drops, absolutely. Oh, God. Then it becomes almost, eBay 10 years ago when people were doing it from their living room.
Right.
So, Erica, I'm sure that some people may be listening to this and thinking, well, you know what, man, if I had sold my company for 1 million at 26, I'd be like taking on vacation. I'd be off to Costa Rica, thank you, living la vida loca, not worrying. So, but you're still at it, and it sounds like you're still as passionate as you are now that you were, when you were younger. So, what keeps you going? I mean, why do you feel that you still have that need, that drive to keep going? Because some people may say, hey, you know what, she's done well. Same with a lot of people who are extraordinarily rich. Why is it that Donald Trump gets up in the morning? It's really not to go out and add an extra million to his account. So why? Right. What keeps you going?
I think it's all about interacting with people, and if I were to live off my $1 million, I would have to move somewhere where the cost of living was a lot less than San Diego. And in order to survive out here, I've still got to make money. And $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but it doesn't last very long. And I've been very frugal with my money. I've still got plenty of it left, but I enjoy the challenge of interacting in new ways with people. And I enjoy the challenge of building a business. And I think that's really what it comes down to. You'll hear people talk about quote-unquote serial entrepreneurs, and I definitely think I fall into that category because I love building businesses. I have so many ideas that could be $1 million businesses. I told my boyfriend, I literally think I have $1 million idea every day.
Woo.
I think every day I have an idea that could be $1 million business. And I have so many of them that I'm just so passionate about getting them out there and interacting with people and seeing if I can build this next thing into $1 million. So it's really fun for me. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I'm enjoying building Whoosh traffic and learning new things as I build the business. Of course, there's always going to be some frustrations. But for anybody out there who has kids, I don't have kids yet, but a lot of people compare that to building a business. It's frustrating at times, but it's really worth it overall because you learn so much, and that's what I feel about building my business. My business is like a baby to me. Like, you have to nurture it and make it grow, and then eventually it goes off on its own, and it becomes a business that works for you instead of you working for it. Right now, of course, in the new business, I'm still in the stage where I work for the business all the time. I come back to that quote by Paul Graham, who's a famous entrepreneur who sold a company called BioWeb to Yahoo, and that became Yahoo Stores back in the 90s, and he cashed out in a major way, and he said, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, basically, building a business is, instead of working 60 years to retire, you work 6 years, and then you retire. And I think that's true. You cram 60 years of work into 6 years is basically what he said. And it's so true. You work 10 times as much as everybody else, but you love it. You've got to have the right personality to do it.
Yes.
And I don't want people to think that they have the wrong personality, because I think a lot more people out there could be entrepreneurs than are right now. Certainly, if you can't find a job, being an entrepreneur is definitely a great option because you're going to learn a whole lot and you're going to learn how to sell to people, or you don't get, if you have the point where you have to sell it or the food doesn't get on the table, then you learn how to sell.
You learn how to sell.
And that's where I was when I started my first business, and I try to go back to that mentality sometimes, not actually that mentality, but not actually that situation, I guess that's a shade, but the mental thing that comes with that situation. Like right now, I'm repeatedly declined for a mortgage when trying to buy a house because I'm self-employed, and because of the setup of my business, it's complicated, but because of the way my business is set up, because I don't get paid a salary or whatever, because I take dividends, or I take a really low salary and a lot of dividends, I'm repeatedly declined for a mortgage. So right now my goal is to raise $200,000 and buy a house with cash. I have some of that money obviously from the sale of my last business, but I am gung-ho. I do not want to give my money to a bank. I do not want a mortgage. Screw this. This is ridiculous. So I want to do this myself. And that's one of those things that drives me. That I just decided recently. I haven't really talked about it on my blog yet because I don't know how to talk about it without devolving into a string of curse words about how awful banks are and how ridiculous they are. But I really want to buy a house and own it outright. And so that's my next goal, is raise $200,000. How fast can I do it? Like, how fast can I make $200,000? And that challenge is really interesting to me. That's kind of the fun thing of running a business. Most people would look at me and think I'm crazy because they'd have to save up for 10 years. But you don't when you're an entrepreneur. You can do it as fast as you can possibly do it. And that's the fun thing about running your own business.
And the other perk of buying a house outright at $200,000 is that it's actually $200,000 and not $368,000 by the time you finish paying for it.
Exactly. And why not? I love being an entrepreneur as well because you can set challenge goals like that for yourself, and then your brain is thinking, how can I make $200,000 ethically and in an awesome way that serves people, obviously. Mm-hmm. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say that, but I feel like I have to say that because there's going to be that one person who listens to this interview and goes, well, she is super sleazy. No, it's all about giving value to customers and it's not about selling whatever's going to sell to make you $200,000. It's about giving lots of value to your customers so that they're so passionate about your stuff that they want to buy from you over and over again.
Absolutely.
That's the foundation of running a successful business, is you need people who are going to buy from you over and over again, who are going to refer you to their friends. And selling sleazy crap is not going to get you there.
No, it's not.
I feel like that's a given, but I want to say that just in case there's somebody out there going, oh, well, obviously she's super sleazy because she's going to make that much money in a short amount of time. Well, regardless of whether it takes me a month or a year or 3 years to make that amount of money, I don't think it'll take that long. But it's a fun thing to do. It's a challenge to yourself. It's stretching your own boundaries. How many letters can I send out? How many ads can I run? How many customers can I sign? How many products can I sell? That sort of thing stretches all of your boundaries and makes you really think about how to grow your business. And that's the kind of thing I love to do. It's the thing that you can't do when you have a job. When you have a job, you just have to do your work and wait for the next paycheck to come in. And then it comes in and you squirrel a little bit of that money away. I find that very boring.
And as you said earlier, it's not for being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. That's just the reality. That's why certain personality types are more attracted to entrepreneurship than others. And, that's just the way it is. For those of us who are entrepreneurs, then yes, that's why we call ourselves serial entrepreneurs, because we just couldn't see ourselves doing anything else. And yeah, there are challenges, but we thrive on those challenges. We get up and it's like, yeah. And something that you said, you were talking about the fact that, I don't know if I have to repeat this, it should be a given. I think it's actually very important that you said that. And I think it also sets the tone, because oftentimes online, there are a lot of people who've done very well. And, sometimes the methods are a little bit shady. And it's like, sometimes it's actually just borderline, And it is important for you to mention that we can get wealthy online by still providing a lot of value and being an ethical entrepreneur. And I think that's part of being an entrepreneur in the new economy. It's being, transparent, open, ethical, and bringing value, thinking of the needs of the clients and not just stuffing your pockets with money.
100% agreed. I find a lot of people, they'll burn their list really quickly because they're like, okay, I got to make some money right now, and I'm just going to send every offer to this list, and they're either going to buy it or they're going to unsubscribe. And I don't want to do that. I'd rather have the relationship than the immediate cash. And I've certainly forfeited, I would guess, tens of thousands of dollars in cash by not sending offers to my list that I didn't feel comfortable with. But it shows now I've got a list of close to 15,000 people, in an email list, and these people have, it's a really high open rate on the list, very few unsubscribes, almost zero complaints. And I do run offers, but I try to run them a couple times a year as opposed to a couple times a week. And that's a big difference. And those offers do make good money because I can throw all of my weight behind it, and I say, I know I do not promote 99% of the stuff that comes to my door, but this is the other 1%. And this year, I've basically done no promotions to my list, and it's already toward the end of the year. So I probably am cutting myself a little bit short, but I haven't found that one thing that I'm super passionate about yet. So I'm saving all my promotional ammo for my new product, step-by-step business, that's coming out later, where I help teach people how to really go from zero to business. And I've incorporated a lot of what I've learned in internet marketing into that course, and I'm really passionate about that. That one's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be awesome.
And
so I'm looking forward to that.
And the other thing as well, in terms of that, if you forgot to mention, there are two things. One, on your blog, you get a lot of comments. I mean, I was reading looking at the number of comments. I was like, wow, that's a lot of comments. And the other thing is, I noticed you don't have the usual right-hand side full of little trinkets, products to buy and whatnot. So I realized that on your blog, you were really building something completely different. And
it's super easy. Those ads, I don't like those at all, because I see blogs with those, and I'm just like, well, what's the point here? My point with the blog is to build a relationship with my list. And what I want you to do is, if you're a new reader, you go to erica.biz. That's my blog, erica.biz. Check it out. It's awesome, by the way.
And I'll have the links. I'll have the links in the show notes for sure.
Thank you. And so you go to my blog, and what I want you to do is I want you to sign up and become a member of my list so that you can be part of my community. I don't want you to click on an ad. That's why I have Google ads on my blog, but they're on the very bottom. Like, you scroll all the way down, and then they're way down there at the bottom. I figure if you haven't clicked on anything, if nothing I have said has interested you, if you're not engaged enough to sign up to my list, to read another article, to post a comment, anything, and you scroll all the way down, okay, then I'll get the nickel by you clicking on an ad. And I do make about, I think it was $100, $120 a month from those ads. So it's enough to pay my hosting bills, which is cool. But the ads are not the important part of my site. I could make $1,000 a month if I were to put the ads on the top of the site, but I don't want to do that. So, and I've been debating how to get some advertising on my blog, because I do have some advertising partners, some big hardware companies and stuff that want to advertise on my site because they cater to small businesses. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about how to do that on my blog, but I haven't come to an acceptable conclusion yet. And even at that point, it would only be $400 or $500 or maybe $1,000 a month in additional revenue. It's okay, but I've got bigger things going on, so I don't really want to focus on that right now.
Okay.
And I really want to focus on helping people, and I want to only promote stuff that's awesome. And given that it's almost the end of the year, and I haven't promoted anything on my blog, well, nothing big on my blog so far this year, only little promotions, then that should tell you the state of the market right now. I've reviewed a lot of products, and they're not great. So, I'm always interested in finding stuff that is great, but I can't stand the emails that I get are like, oh, $11.22 CPC, it would be awesome, send your list to this thing, and then they opt in, and I go to there, and it's like this flashy,
We had to start over because we had a little technical problem with Erica's the computer falling, so we're going to keep going, and I do agree with you in terms of the value. And there's also something else in terms of not bombarding your list, is that when you do send something out to your list, they actually will take note. They'll think like, oh, right, okay, if Erica is recommending this, then it definitely has value, as opposed to sending people to offers that are crappy or shady and they get burnt. And then, of course, your reputation is affected by the fact that they'll say, oh, well, she's willing to send anything out to her list, and she doesn't really care if we get burnt in the process or not.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important to know, that for your list to know that you only send stuff that's really good. And frankly, if you're sending an offer 2 or 3 times a week to your list, you're probably making more money than I am with your list. But they kind of, some point, they kind of just stop listening to you. Even if it's information or blog posts, they kind of they kind of say, oh, well, yeah, maybe it's just another offer, so I don't know if I want to open that because I don't want to get bombarded with another sales page. And so I don't want to do that with my list. Now, I would say don't necessarily follow my example in that I haven't promoted anything since last year. So don't do that. You need to promote more often than I do. I've just been busy focusing on building my business.
Exactly.
So, and that's, whoosh traffic is my first priority. And so that's why I haven't been big on the promotions. If it is your full-time business as a blog, and certainly my blog could be a six-figure a year full-time business at this point easily, with the traffic that I get and the amount of readers that I have. I just haven't pushed it because I'm more interested in running my business than running my blog. So, and that's okay. It all depends on what you want as a business owner and as a blogger.
Absolutely. Well, Erica, this interview has been beyond brilliant. Your energy is totally contagious, and God knows I have energy, but you make me feel like a slacker compared to you. And thank you so much for sharing your insights. Thank you so much for sort of sharing how you've built that amazing first company, sold it, and now building another amazing company. And also thank you so much for the lesson on SEO, because I think that SEO oftentimes it's just so unfriendly. I mean, it just comes across like I need an engineering PhD to understand it. And it's good to know that entrepreneurs don't have to know it all. They just have to make sure that they can go out there and find a company who knows what they're doing and who are extraordinarily passionate. And then, that's it. They just have to focus on what they're really good at.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You too.